Ladies and gentlemen, one of the Democrats' top politicians, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, is about to find out a big-time lesson. You see, yesterday afternoon, Congresswoman Crockett got up on stage and made a pretty unsavory comment directed towards Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Take a look at this.
Because we in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey. So yes.
So yeah, she just called Governor Greg Abbott, who's in a wheelchair, Hot Wheels. Now, if she were starring in an Adam Sandler movie, maybe that comment could be passed off as comedy, but the reality is that she's a sitting member of the United States House of Representatives and she's using her elected position to make fun of disabled people. Now, as a little bit of background, before we break all of this down, in 1984, Greg Abbott was out for a morning run, a morning jog, when an oak tree randomly fell on him, paralyzing him from the waist down. So, Governor Abbott ended up in a wheelchair as a consequence of a totally random freak accident, which almost makes Congresswoman Crockett's comment even worse. Because honestly, the life story of Greg Abbott is a story about overcoming and persevering despite getting dealt a bad hand by life. If anything, it's something to be applauded, not made fun of. We also have to acknowledge that if a Republican made a comment like this at the expense of a disabled person, the progressive left would pretty much be calling for their public execution. In fact, remember when the left-wing media ran with this story for weeks?
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
That, quote, nice reporter is Serge Kovaleski, who suffers from a physical disability that limits the movement of his arms.
So, as we all now know, President Trump wasn't, in fact, making fun of that disabled reporter, but still, the left-wing progressive media spent weeks making the claim that Trump was making fun of disabled people. This time, however, now that the discrimination is coming from one of their own members on the progressive left, they're radio silent. They've got absolutely nothing to say. Imagine my shock. As we like to say, the first rule of progressivism is rules for thee, but not for me. And right now, that rule is on full display. But you know what? This sort of behavior isn't actually all that uncommon for Congresswoman Crockett. In reality, this comment of hers is pretty much just par for the course. And so I want to show you guys what I'm talking about, but before I do, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, folks, take a look at this.
On March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes.
So yeah, that was Congresswoman Crockett just last week saying that her birthday wish is for someone to take down Elon Musk. Would you guys call that inciting violence? Because personally, I would. But you know what? That's not even the worst of her behavior. In fact, take a look at this clip from just yesterday afternoon.
Hello, Congresswoman.
Horse manure. Well, that sounds like fun.
Wait, Congresswoman Crockett.
But it sounds.
Congresswoman Crockett, you were recently on a Tesla takedown call calling for violence on the 29th. Would you like to clarify your comments?
As you can see.
Congresswoman, will you condone violence at the Tesla?
So you see that, folks? Literally right as she's being asked whether or not she'll condemn violence, she got violent. It's actually astounding that someone this trashy ended up becoming a United States congressional representative at all. But hey, you know what? I guess this just speaks volumes to the current state of the Democratic Party when they decide that people like Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett should be leading them. Folks, it really is just absolutely astounding how far the Democratic Party has fallen. But you know what? It looks like Jasmine Crockett's ongoing incompetent, violent behavior isn't going without consequence. You see, Jasmine Crockett's fellow congressional representative from Texas, a guy named Randy Weber, has actually filed a congressional motion to censure her because of her ongoing behavioral issues. Now, unfortunately, a congressional censure is pretty much just a slap on the wrist, so between you and me, I think the House Republicans should start drafting up articles of impeachment. At this point, I think we have more than enough proof to determine that Jasmine Crockett has no place in the U.S. House of Representatives. How she got there in the first place, I have absolutely no idea, but personally, I think it's time for her to leave the governance of this country to people who aren't complete and total morons. But you know what, folks? Here's the reality. As if this was ever even up for debate, but as things stand right now, the America First movement very clearly has the moral high ground. Despite the progressive left going on and on about how inclusive and tolerant and accepting they are, when they don't get their way, the progressives resort to making fun of disabled people, as we've all just witnessed. The progressive platform really is just the pure textbook dictionary definition of hypocrisy. But really, talking about Congresswoman Crockett specifically, just in the last 7 days, we've seen her incite violence against Elon Musk, assault a reporter in the U.S. Capitol building, and mock Governor Abbott for being in a wheelchair. So folks, if all of that doesn't warrant getting kicked out of Congress, I honestly don't know what does. So folks, let's all hope that she either gets voted out or kicked out of Congress, but really, here's the truth. The Democratic Party should feel absolutely embarrassed for ever having elected her in the first place. I suppose this is just one of the unavoidable problems that can pop up in our great representative democracy. If there are enough morons in one congressional district, then they can all get together and elect an even bigger moron like Jasmine Crockett. Then, when that happens, all of the other serious politicians that are actually trying to, make the country a better place have to go to work every day and deal with her on a daily basis. And you just know that for every one of her idiotic outbursts that we all get to witness in public, there's another 10 of her idiotic outbursts that happen behind closed doors. Seriously, we don't have time to go through all of this today, but there's dozens of Capitol staffer reports saying that Jasmine Crockett is pretty much just a belligerent idiot 24/7. Yelling at people, shouting at staffers, intentionally walking into people in the hallway, slamming doors, snatching people's cameras. It sounds like she pretty much just acts like a spoiled teenager all the time. So hey, with all of that considered, on behalf of all of America, if you live in this congressional district in Texas, next time elections roll around, please do the right thing. Seriously, we would all be eternally grateful. But now folks, before we wrap up with today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates as it relates to all of this stuff. So hey, if you guys use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there. As I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.